Welcome everyone, it's that time of the month. We are your hosts, Jason Jako and Michael T. Ricker. Tonight we got a wide variety of pro wrestling topics to discuss with you. So take it away, Jace.
Alrighty, well, a lot has happened since we last spoke. The WWE's trying to move in a new direction. They've held a pay-per-view, Stomping Grounds. AEW's been promoting their upcoming pay-per-view, which actually airs tonight, Fyter Fest. And the little competition between AEW and the WWE is, I feel, officially kicked off with Seth Rollins' little Twitter
exchange with Will Ospreay, Chris Jericho.
I call it more of a little Twitter meltdown because it honestly came out of nowhere, where he was basically just, promoting the WWE, promoting the brand, calling it, the best in the business.
The best pro wrestling on the planet is his words.
And talking about how great he pretty much is, and
the best wrestler alive.
I don't know if he went that far, but he dared to challenge if anyone else out there could meet, I guess, his intensity, his work ethic, and this way. And all Will Ospreay did was simply put, "I'm alive."
Yeah, I think his quote was, "Find another wrestler alive on the planet that what he does on a consistent basis as good as he does." And Will Ospreay retweeted that he's alive. Seth Rollins said, called him little man or little guy, and we already have a better version of you in Ricochet, the United States champion.
His U.S. championship. Why? Will Ospreay and Ricochet, they put on some actually very entertaining matches. Why he would even try to drag Ricochet into it is beyond me.
That's what Ospreay's reply to it all was. Why drag another person into it? This was between me and you. I just said that I'm alive because I feel that I do as good a job, if not better than you, on a consistent basis. I'm on work 300 days. I work maybe 250, but that's on you and that's on me. But why can't we both do what we're great at doing, and why does there have to be hey, I'm better than you? And
well, see, with New Japan, the way they present their product is more serious. It's more intense, and compared to the WWE style, where we don't do as, I don't want to say do as much, but it's lighter work. New Japan is more of a hardcore basis. Like Will Ospreay was talking about, the New Japan Dojo is one of the most intense training facilities there is, and most of the big names in the WWE, most of their big stars, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Nakamura, they all came from New Japan. So that is saying something, that the New Japan style of wrestling, the product they present, is, I would say, far superior than what the WWE offers. Maybe not on a global scale, maybe not production-wise as much money that the WWE invests, but the in-ring work, the matches.
That's where they hone their skills and get to be who they are before they go elsewhere. They're born and raised in New Japan, and that's what Will Ospreay was alluding to.
He did get to create his own new t-shirt, the little guy, little freaking guy, and underneath it says "Burn down Twitter," which was obviously a direct shot at Seth Rollins.
Well, there you go. Seth Rollins helped him make some money.
But the thing about Seth Rollins and all that is, he quoted about the cruiserweight match that took place on the kickoff show of Stomping Grounds. He said, if you saw that, arguably one of the best matches there is. The problem is, a lot of people didn't see that, at least in the audience. there wasn't too many people in there at the time. And it was a great match. It wasn't one of the greatest cruiserweight matches I've ever seen. It wasn't one of the greatest 205 matches I've ever seen.
That's what it's alarming. The attendance records for WWE, I think, are at all-time low.
Yeah.
It started the pay-per-view was 8,000 people, I think. Raw had 3,000.
Yeah.
SmackDown had like 2,500 or something.
Yeah, those 3 days showed really, I don't want to say overall fan interest, but it speaks volumes for fan interest. Now that could just be the area they were touring right there, which I guess historically hasn't done extremely well. But it also speaks on fan interest. There used to be a time when they were pulling in like 8.2 ratings when they came into town. It was the hottest ticket. Didn't matter. Even if people weren't fans of wrestling, they still wanted to see it. With Stomping Grounds, which was a pay-per-view. Normally, no matter what, their pay-per-views do extra well. They put on great shows, but nobody really cared. Even though if you can consider it a throwaway pay-per-view, it got to the point where they were offering 2-for-1 tickets.
Buy one, I heard that too.
They had to tarp off half the arena, and they did the same thing at Raw. The whole upper level was tarped off. They had to move people down who obviously bought the cheap seats and got lucky that night because boom, they get to move down to the more expensive. But that also speaks to how much they're selling tickets for. A Raw ticket is extremely pricey, and that baffles my mind as well. But I mean, if you got it and you can sell it, that's great. But right now, attendance isn't that good. People would rather sit at home and watch than go attend a live event, and that speaks volumes for the product they are presenting.
Vince seems to be going into panic mode over this, as the new additions are Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's been on the creative team for a little while, but from my understanding, he's going to be heading Raw creative, while Eric Bischoff is going to be heading SmackDown. Now, this I hear came off as an error because it was advertised that both of these men respectively are going to appear on air, and that didn't seem to be the case. As when Vince saw that email, he was furious that he decided that he's going to let other people, he's not going to micromanage everything. I guess that's been one of the main problems, and this is one of the things slipped through the cracks, and now he might have to make do on a promise and put these guys on TV when they weren't supposed to be on TV, and they're supposed to be heading the creative of both Raw and SmackDown.
I have a very strong opinion on this. I applaud Vince for wanting to change. He realizes there's something wrong. He realizes that the fans are upset with everything, and they've been trying to do different things, from getting rid of GMs to the horrendous wild card rule, changing the third hour of Raw to seem more adult, indie oriented. But
so he's finally steps back. Everybody's crying to Vince, you need to step back. You need to let us throw out some of these jobs to somebody else. Let them delegate. So he finally does. And what's the first thing that happens? A huge mistake where now he might have to put people on TV. And that just shows him, hey, maybe I need to run everything, because when I don't, crap happens like this.
Well, see, at the end of the day, no matter what, Vince is still going to run everything. What we have here is what was supposed to be a non-kayfabe switch. In the early 2000s, you had Bischoff running Raw kayfabe, and you had Heyman running SmackDown kayfabe, even though they were still part of the creative as far as Heyman was concerned when he introduced the SmackDown 6 that was putting on some of the best television. So here we have it switched around with Heyman running Raw, I think for the obvious reasons of Brock Lesnar being a main focal point of Raw, staple, they need those ratings. And Bischoff really doesn't seem to mesh well. But what I feel is it's more of a smokescreen. It's more of a look. We're getting these two guys that all the fans already know. You know, they're already infamous for different reasons. ECW, WCW, but other than that, really, what have they done? I mean, Bischoff had a great idea with the NWO, but the NWO idea was stolen from New Japan. He eventually ran that into the ground by giving more and more and more.
Well, both these men, I think, were around during the height of the Monday Night Wars, and now Vince is in the mindset, hey, it looks like we're going to war again, and he wants his generals to be familiar faces that were there, well, against him in competition, that can maybe throw some things, some angles at him that he isn't thinking about. But like you said, we've been there, we've done it. But I mean, and Heyman ran ECW into the ground. Bischoff lost WCW. Both men are failures at the end of the day. And Vince won, but now it seems that AEW is the new cool kid on the block, and WWE's the enemy. And anything they do almost seems like they're doing it wrong in the fans' eyes. So I don't know what these two guys are going to contribute other than ideas that have already been used. I think we need some fresh new takes, some fresh new faces to come up with fresh new ideas.
All right, well, from what I see of Bischoff and Heyman and what they're going to do, it's a smokescreen. They're going to get together with creative and they're going to pitch out ideas. I can already see Heyman. We need to let's push Ricochet. Let's push Cesaro. But at the end of the day, no matter what they come up with, it's still Vince running the show. It's still him tweaking all the ideas. It's still him making it.
Is it going to be everything, though, with the XFL coming up, though? I mean, he's going to have so much. He's going to be pulled in so many directions. Is he going to be in control of it all?
That's why I only look at, and hopefully maybe in the next couple of weeks they'll prove me wrong, but I only look at it as a show, as being like, hey, we're doing something, here's some names you all know, check out our product. If he really wanted to make a difference, especially with having the XFL, why didn't he let just Triple H, who already has a proven track record with NXT, take over the reins, have Bischoff and Heyman answer to Triple H? Like, that's what doesn't make sense. It just seems...
Maybe that's what it will ultimately be, at least for a short period of time, and because if he's really taking a step back and letting others do it, I think now is the perfect time.
Oh, absolutely.
To let Triple H be the one in charge, because we already seen what he can do. But there's a glass ceiling. He can only do so much, and now the NXT talent has seen what's going to become of them on the main roster. So, I mean, morale's just down all around.
Adam Cole straight out came out and said pretty much that he would rather stay in NXT. He he's having fun down there. They're doing a lot. Back in the years ago, people was excited to get to the main roster when they had the draft and they were calling up Finn Balor. Finn Balor was so excited.
Well, everybody on that first Raw was so over. Everybody from NXT, Enzo and Cass, Balor, he was all over that show. And unfortunately, he got that shoulder injury, and that was it for him. But, I mean, it continued. Nakamura, Bobby Roode, all these guys, where are they at? Enzo and Cass aren't even in the company, and then the rest of them are mid-carders, if that. And all of their hype has died, and then they've been reduced to nothing. Their morales, they're just on autopilot.
They seem to be repeating the same formula over and over, maybe just changing a character here and there, but still having the same run of the mill. For example, Kofi Kingston right now, hugely over. It was a big moment for him to win the world title, and since then he's had mediocre feuds. Nothing that has been exciting or anything. Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, now Samoa Joe. If you look to last year at the exact same time, AJ Styles WWE Championship run, he put on some good matches, but a lot of it was very forgettable. And at this exact moment, going into SummerSlam and whatnot, he was feuding with Samoa Joe. It seems to be the same formula. They never want to take a chance by having somebody else step up and put on a great program. A guy like Finn Balor, who hasn't really even been featured, is stuck with the IC title, when if they would just put him in the championship program against Kofi, imagine the matches they would have. You'd have two faces that fans love, just competing to one-up each other, competing out of respect. But no, they keep doing the same thing. They're always going
and
back
returning to old stars like The Undertaker, like Goldberg. And then you have the fiasco that ensued in Saudi Arabia. Goldberg knocking himself out on the way to the ring. Goldberg knocking himself out on the turnbuckle. A horrible botched tombstone. Both men looked terribly weak. Undertaker visibly upset over it.
That Goldberg's jackhammer. That was just horrendous, and you knew something was up. The moment when Goldberg rushed and he went straight into the turnbuckle, and he obviously got out, and they were supposed to have a spot, but he stumbled into the ropes, didn't get off the ropes. You could see right then and there that Undertaker knew something was going on, and it just kept on going more downhill. And I'll never forget Taker's face there at the end. Just that look of disgust, that look of what the hell was this? It's something that
Goldberg took to Twitter to immediately apologize.
As he should.
And perhaps that's the last we'll see of Goldberg. But that wasn't the last time we saw The Undertaker, as he seems to be Roman Reigns' tag team partner against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre.
Taker needed this. Taker needed this too, because the last image of Taker looking all upset, that's not what you want to remember when you last think of Taker. Him working into this program kind of fits. He has a history with Roman Reigns. Shane McMahon, for his age and what he can do, he matches well with Shane McMahon.
And Drew McIntyre, I read, is on his list of wrestlers wants to work with this year.
And that's something Drew needs, which will help get him over even more, because he seems to be just floundering and stuck. They're putting him in a top, program here, but they're not letting him go over at all. Every match it's been, he's always lost to Reigns.
Him and Shane couldn't even get the win over Reigns in a handicap match before The Undertaker came out. But The Undertaker needed that to wash that bad taste out of his mouth, to get back on the horse with a nice choke slam, big boot. Taker's back in action. And we'll segue into, we've got the Fyter Fest card tonight. Really looking forward. This is AEW's next step on their road to their weekly television program this fall. Of course, it's not as big an event as All Out is going to be, but this is the next step. Your thoughts on this card tonight?
I've been anticipating Fyter Fest pretty much since it was announced. After watching Double or Nothing, seeing their production qualities, the program they put on, I couldn't wait to see this. I couldn't wait to see it. For one, it's a free pay-per-view. They're giving away a free event featuring some great matches, and it's in a littler, auditorium. And I can't wait. Like, literally, I'm counting down the minutes now until I get to watch it. Like, I'm so excited.
We've got a hardcore match with Michael Nakazawa versus Alex Jabali. What do you think of that match?
I don't really honestly know what to think about this match. I mean, Jabali is Jabali. He's the CEO of and runs the gaming platform company that they're working with for this event.
So he's one of the brains behind this event, then.
Yeah, but he's not a wrestler. That's not, to my knowledge, he's not a wrestler. And I think working with Nakazawa, who he can mesh well with pretty much anyone and put on some.
He'll bring out the baby oil,
yeah,
slip and slide out of the moves.
It'll be entertaining. Putting it on, even though it's a free event, putting it on the pre-show, it fits. It'll entertain some fans. It'll attract some fans in. And it should be a good match. I'm not going to say it's going to be a classic. I'm not going to say it's even going to hit 2 stars, but it will be entertaining, I would say.
Christopher Daniels versus CIMA.
This is a match I'm definitely looking forward to. Christopher Daniels and CIMA, they have a long history. It's Christopher Daniels, the older he gets, his matches just keep getting better and better. And I can't wait to see what they do. As
long as he stays healthy, that he's in incredible shape. He's a veteran of many years, a mind for the business. And I agree, this match is going to be one to watch for on this card.
I mean, look what Christopher Daniels did with Stephen Amell. I mean, they put on, and Stephen Amell is not a wrestler, he's an actor, but they put on such a great match. And that's one of the good things about Christopher Daniels. He always brings that out of everyone. And he's been mostly working, tag and 6-man matches. So him having a singles match, and I don't believe he's had a singles match in almost a year. And this last one was with Stephen Amell. And it's just going to be great.
Did you see the Being the Elite when it opened with him in the locker room and... Who's Joey Ryan's wife or...
It was him and Dr. Britt Baker talking. If you're talking about the newest one.
Yeah.
They're talking and they're mentioning about, back in 2017, he was obviously referencing, Adam Cole and stuff. And she's like, no, everything's cool now because of, what happened when, and he almost mentioned Ring of Honor, but didn't.
She's like, I got a surprise for you.
Yeah.
Close your eyes and hold out your hand. And he's like, oh, it's warm, pulsing with energy.
Soft and it's squishy.
And it's Joey Ryan's dong. And he proceeds to look at the camera and go, oh no! Joey flips him with his finishing move before the lights go out.
And I like the skit that followed with him doing the Peter Griffin of just,
yeah.
Just throughout the whole episode. That was great.
Classic stuff. So he, very funny man, very great wrestler. It's going to be a great match. And then we have Best Friends. Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta versus SoCal Uncensored, Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian versus The Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn.
This, there's 3 matches on this card that I look forward to. This would have to be my second one. Number 2 on the list.
Number 2 on the list.
From what I've seen of Private Party, they are just great. What they do in the ring is just phenomenal. The matches that I've watched have all been entertaining. They have a strong work rate. They're quick, and so I'm really looking forward just to seeing them live, and especially mixing up with SoCal Uncensored, which is one of my favorite teams. I love Scorpio Sky and I love Frankie Kazarian. The Best Friends, they're not in my top list. I think they put on a good match at Double or Nothing, but I was more entertained by the beatdown at the end. But they're not some of my favorites. So,
do you think we'll see those guys again in this match?
I believe so. And
we're referring to the Super Smash Brothers, even though they can't go by that name. But we've seen a promo for them, and we know that he's being called Evil Uno, and what was his tag team partner's name?
I'm not sure on that one.
But
Right there.
they were the Super Smash Brothers, and they interrupted that tag match at Double or Nothing and formed that human throne of their minions. They have all those men in masks that are those minions, and I was impressed by that human throne. I thought that was pretty neat.
That is a team that they can do a lot with, that they can get behind. They're very interesting, and just the way they present themselves is pretty captivating. They can do a whole hell of a lot in moving forward with them.
All right, moving along, we have a four-way match between number one contender for the AEW Championship, and I'm talking about Hangman Adam Page,
Oh, of course.
Jimmy Havoc, the Hardcore Warrior, and Jungle Boy, son of Luke Perry, versus MJF, Maxwell J. Freeman, one of my favorite heels in the business right now.
My absolute favorite as well.
I think this match is going to be spectacular.
This is the match that's number one on my list. Out of all the matches, I am so looking forward to this. Those four guys, what they did at Double or Nothing, and then just in the Battle Royal match itself, but then the continuation storyline
with Bret Hart unveiling the title.
It added so much that I can't wait just to see this. MJF, like
his
you said,
promo he's almost the
ridiculous.
best promo in the business.
He is
and
just
funny.
on it. Like
he told Bret, "Hey, watch out, Bret. There's a fan behind you." The man's in character 24/7. I listened to him on Steve Austin's podcast, in character the whole time. Austin's like, "Man, not a lot of people overwhelm me, but son, you're overwhelming me with this. I don't know whether to throw you out the window or give you another beer."
See, that's what's so great about MJF. Like he lives this character, and you don't see a lot of that.
No,
today.
Samoa Joe's a good example. Big nasty heel. But then you go on Twitter and that's nice. He's making wishes and donating $100,000 to charity. Yeah, I mean, okay, you're a good human, but that doesn't make you a heel. You gotta take suckers out of babies' mouths and throw them on the ground, and
instead of making a wish,
take money from the homeless people. You know what I mean? Rob from the poor, give to the rich.
And that's why MJF has gotten so over. Is he lives this 24/7. Even if he's out by himself and he's, his normal self and stuff like that, if a fan notices him, he'll click it on right like that and just literally decimate him by putting him down. And you don't see that, and I just love it. And I'm personally hoping MJF wins this match. I doubt he will.
Yeah, I see him personally, the Hangman going over. He's got to look strong going into his title match with Chris Jericho. So he may be your next AEW champion.
Well, I have a couple opinions on that one of how they should go. I definitely see him, being one of their top stars. But I personally don't think they should put the title on him right now.
They may not. They may have him chase it, but he's definitely being groomed for the future star of this company.
Paige and MJF, I could see those two being the top two stars eventually. They're just...
At one time, I would say that could be our main event at WrestleMania in years down the line, but I think... that's going to be your main event at whatever AEW's WrestleMania turns out to be. That's how much faith I've got in this AEW. They're going to be around. They're going to be around for a while. And they're going to have their own WrestleMania moments and big stars. It's not just going to be WWE anymore.
Yeah, I definitely see them growing. From where they are right now, for what they're doing, in a year from now, I can definitely see the growth. And a year after that, I can see even more growth. To eventually they are putting on, like, maybe perhaps stay. What they said about All Out selling out, like it had more demand than WrestleMania itself. Could you imagine if they actually had the ability to perform in like a stadium?
That's the thing. They're selling out all their shows, and WWE's got to pay people to come see them. But back to the match, I think Jimmy Havoc and Jungle Boy here are going to get the rub off these other two guys.
Absolutely.
Both are young, both need it. Jungle Boy, he's more of the wrestler. Jimmy Havoc likes the hardcore matches. Both get the rub. This match should be entertaining with them in it, but I don't look for either one of them guys to go over.
No, definitely not at all. I do look forward to seeing Jungle Boy in action. I don't know if it's because he's Luke Perry's son or what, but I'm quickly becoming a huge Jungle Boy fan.
The skits with him are funny in the supermarket. He's on his friend's shoulders. They go get him bananas, and he's happy.
I love it. But I think that has to do with the fact that I was a Luke Perry fan, and the fact that he's his son. So that kind of like, I'm like, oh, it gives me a soft, spot in my heart for Jungle Boy. And just from what I've seen of him, it's just grown, and I'm becoming a fan. And Jimmy Havoc, he's definitely going to pull out a couple oh my god spots. I can definitely see him getting that staple gun and whatnot used at some point in time. But I think it's going to be a great match.
JR says he's a walking Mad Max movie.
He is. I mean, that guy is crazy. I saw a lot of his work in MLW, and that's when I started liking Jimmy Havoc. His match, I wouldn't call it a death match, but his hardcore match with Sami Callihan was in MLW was just great. It was a very entertaining match.
All right, next up we have Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. What do you think about Darby Allin?
I enjoy Darby Allin. This is my third match on my list right here. I didn't really understand or know who Darby Allin was. So when the match was announced, I kind of tossed it out. I was like, oh, well, Cody's going to go over here. And that's when I looked into who Darby Allin was. Saw some of his matches, and he's a great worker. Then I started learning the history of him. Thankful to the Road to Fighter Fest video series that they have, and hearing about all the traumatic events that went on with him as a kid, in the car accident and barely living and stuff. And that helps. I respect him, and I look forward to actually seeing him on this platform and seeing the type of character he is and how he turns out to be, and working with Cody, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a very entertaining match.
Cody will bring this match up to the next level with superb storytelling and make us care. His match versus his brother Dustin was probably one of the most emotional American matches that I've seen in recent memory, and
in the recent decade, I would say.
He's such on this hot streak. I expect him to carry over some of that heat into this match, and then he'll get that crowd worked up into a supersonic frenzy like he does. He's in this position right now where he's gray, so he could go in and play heel or babyface perfectly, and then the next time just transition into the other. He's in that perfect spot, so he's what he needs to be, and he's going to be bringing that to this match, no doubt in my mind.
This is I want to call this a classic one-on-one bout, something you don't really see too often, and I think they're just going to put on a great match. That's why it's number 3 on my list.
Next we have this match. I think is the one I'm looking forward to the most, and that's a non-sanctioned match between Joey Janela and probably the hottest wrestler in pro wrestling right now, and I'm talking about Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley has the heat right now. He is on fire. He had a thermonuclear meltdown at the end of Double or Nothing, and he's been gold. Everything he touches is gold since. I'm saying he's had interactions with Enzo and Cass. He had a match with Darby Allin recently. And Darby Allin's, he tied both of his arms behind his back. And Darby Allin still was a mounting offense, flipping over the ropes with planchas and everything else. And then, of course, Moxley's infamous interview on Jericho's podcast where he gave State of the WWE address, and that the State of the WWE wasn't good, according to Mr. Moxley. What's your thoughts on that?
A lot of us fans that follow it, we knew the trouble that the WWE was in backstage. We could see it in the product. We could, we've read rumors and stuff, but we could see it by the way they were presenting it, by the way they were changing stuff up. But I don't think anyone really knew how bad it really honestly was. And he clarified everything that we have talked about, everything we, thought was going on, and he also opened it up to a lot of these, what I call fanboys, that see nothing wrong.
Everything WWE, they can't do wrong.
They can't. It doesn't matter what they do. They're absolutely in love with it. But he told everyone exactly the truth of how it is and how
I have to be a cartoon character, and if I want something changed, I gotta wait 15 minutes for a head writer to come over and say, okay, that's good, because head writers are nothing but Vince clones, and they know exactly what Vince wants, because Vince ultimately controls everything. God forbid if you have to go see him, you're looking at half your day. Everything's so heavily scripted, and he says, come on, man, I'm a 20-year vet almost. Just let me loose. It's my job. I'm a pro here. I'm a pro, and it's my job to get over. That's what you're paying me for. Let me do what you're paying me for. And everything is just, in New Japan, he drug his opponent after the match back to the conference area where they give interviews and held his unconscious opponent next to him and said he wants in the G1 Climax tournament. That interview alone, I think, got 1 million hits. Like, it was the most watched interview in New Japan history.
It was different. It was entertaining. I love that interview. His work in New Japan, his match with Juice, and it's a I want to say a Dean Ambrose, but it's a different side of them that a lot of fans haven't got to see. Like, when you first heard, all right, from a fanboy's perspective, Dean Ambrose going to New Japan, how's he going to be able to work that style? And he just fit in so
easy, because he's a professional. And Jericho says the same thing. We knew the cue when Moxley was going to come out. I said what I had to say, and I got heat. He just knew when I said thank you, it's his turn to come out. I did the classic turnaround. What are you doing here? And the rest is history. We didn't need 3 writers to write all that out or wait half a day for Vince. We're professionals, and we did what we do. And that's what WWE, I think, needs to do in order. Now, you're not going to do that to everybody. You're not going to be like, okay, Ricochet, go out and give me a 15-minute promo, because he's not ready. But Roman Reigns is. Drew McIntyre might be. Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn. All those guys, they should give you their best promo and beyond, and give them a chance to be the next big superstar with the next big Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass, or if you smell what the Rock's cooking.
At this stage, I don't think we will ever hear a promo, just something electric the way the Rock was, the way Austin. I don't know if we'll ever hear something like that. Basically because, and you can even tell that everything's written. When Baron Corbin comes out on screen, you can tell that he memorized lines just by the way he's speaking, by the way he's acting.
That's a horrible, horrible problem, because not only do you got your super smart fans seeing that, but now you've got your run-of-the-mill slack jaws picking up on this. So you've definitely got a problem when everybody knows that you're just reading lines.
And they're so rehearsed, they're so fake. There's no emotion behind them. When they do promos, you don't get behind it at all. You don't feel any excitement. It's just like two guys talking back and forth for no reason, and it's not good at all.
All right, the main event for Fyter Fest is your 6-man tag team match. Sort of a return match here with 2 extra guys added. You've got the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix, and their partner for the evening, the Laredo Kid. And they're taking on the Elite, the Elite with Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. What do you think about this match, and what do you think about the Laredo Kid?
Well, I don't really know a lot about him. I haven't honestly seen any of his matches. I've seen a lot of Lucha Brothers matches, a lot of Young Buck matches.
That main event was spectacular. Last event with the Lucha Brothers and Matt and Nick's the brother Jackson, the Young Bucks, and now we've got a continuation of that match. You think it's going to be better?
I think it can be better. That was a great tag match. That was a tag match that you haven't seen in a while. You don't see that in the WWE, and it was just so beautiful. Just the way they worked together, just all the different spots. It was just great. And I know a lot of people are like, they're acrobats, they're doing that flippy shit, but really that's the style of how it is nowadays.
And Kenny Omega being added to this match, I think brings
so much
a lot
more. I mean, you're gonna get 6 guys. They wouldn't have, the Lucha Brothers wouldn't pick him as a tag partner if he couldn't mesh well with them. The Bucks wouldn't throw him, agree to it and throw him in the match if they couldn't mesh. They're going to put on a show. I think it's going to perhaps maybe steal the show. I think looking back, everyone's going to be excited, and I think it's going to be a great classic 6-man tag. And it's definitely main event caliber. It's definitely main event worthy, and it's gonna be a great night. It's something, like I said, I've looked forward to, and I can't wait to watch it in a few hours.
Yeah, everybody in this match is going to bring their A game. They can't wait to turn this up. They can't wait. The Young Bucks, I've said it and I'll say it again, I think they are the beating heart of AEW. If it wasn't for them, none of this would have happened. I know magic happened when Cody joined them and Kenny around, but I think the Young Bucks, there would be no AEW without them.
They're kind of the heartbeat of wrestling right now.
I agree with that statement as well. They've turned this guy back into a fan. I mean, for a moment, I wasn't even reading wrestling news, but now I'm excited to be a fan again.
Exactly.
I really am.
Until I got onto them and stuff, it was just boring. I didn't get excited. I would sit at home and I'd be like, oh, SummerSlam's in 2 weeks, yay. Or SmackDown, and I would sit there for 2 hours bored. But since AEW, I'm anticipating. I have never anticipated an event or a match in years, and it's like being a kid again.
You're being a kid again. And for those that don't know, the Young Bucks and the Kenny Omega are the Elite, and they started this all with a little YouTube channel called Being the Elite. And it followed them around in their daily lives, wrestling for New Japan, and what it was like being in Tokyo and traveling all the time. And then they started working angles in it, and man, did it get them over. So for those of you that don't know, I'd check out that Being the Elite, and you will see what AEW really is all about, and what turned both of us into huge AEW fans.
Being the Elite has quickly became one of my favorite shows.
It is my favorite.
When when they first were starting, it was entertaining. If I missed a week, it'd be okay, because I'd be like, all right, I'll catch it next week. But now I look forward every week when they drop a new video, and it's just so entertaining. The mix of reality and skits. It blends so well. They they not only hype what's coming, they make you laugh, they make you think. It has everything. It's a wrestling show that I think if you're a fan of wrestling in general, but you're also a fan of what's going on behind the scenes, if you're a fan of comedy, like it'll just suck you in, and after you watch one, the 22 minutes fly by and you just can't wait for the next one. It's that great of a show, and it's
well, let me put this in perspective for everyone. The WWE spends millions of dollars to produce these high quality TV shows that continue their angles, to make matches, to go to pay-per-views, to the big events. But then you have AEW, who have been using their YouTube channel, primarily what we're talking about, being the elite, to progress all these angles and stories. And they're doing a better job right now than the WWE. They are selling out arenas wherever they go. Tickets instantly sold out. And the WWE can't even fill half the stadiums they go to right now.
Well, even when these guys just show up on the indie circuit, and a lot of times it's surprise and stuff, the place goes ballistic. Just them just showing up.
Or an autograph signing. The wait. They're blocks. I mean, winding around. They are. Bubba Ray Dudley said it best. They're stupid over.
and they are. And it's crazy that it all started with Nick and Matt just being like, let's goof off and make a show and air it on YouTube, and it just snowballed. It's taken a lot of time to get to the point, but I mean...
Now, how does this event end? How does this match end? Are we going to get another surprise ending? Or are we going to get another superstar showing up to interfere in this match? Or what do you think's going to happen?
Personally, I'm not sure if... We're guaranteed a surprise at some point in time in this show. There's going to be something that's going to get the fans excited.
Where's this event taking place at?
In Daytona Beach.
Daytona Beach.
So, Daytona Beach, Florida. Back in the old WCW Bash at the Beach days.
If it was going to be CM Punk, I would say they're going to wait for... Isn't All Out in Chicago?
All Out is in Chicago. The thing with CM Punk is you want to believe, but you can't believe. But the thing with CM Punk is, here recently, he's been out there more. He's he did a promo for NASCAR racing for NBC. He did a talk show, the Midnight Hour. I believe is what it's called. He's been more active on Twitter, mentioning wrestling more and more. He constantly keeps saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be there," but you kind of believe there's a chance. And if ever he would come back to wrestling, it would be AEW.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get into that topic, though, at another time, especially if he does show up tonight. But either way, this event's going to be jam-packed full of action. By the time I post this podcast, it'll be over, but I'm sure you'll be able to see the highlights on YouTube or ways to rewatch this event if you're interested. I know some of our fans out there, they're not diehard like we are, and may have never even seen an AEW show.
They need to. Just check it out.
That's our advice. Check it out. Check out Being the Elite. You will become a fan. And wrapping this up, professional wrestler and world champion Adrian Lionheart McCollum has died at 36. It's always sorry to hear when a pro wrestler passes away, especially passes away at a young age. But what strikes me odd is just how much attention this man's garnered. I have never even... I'm no disrespect to Lionheart, but I've never heard of the man. But you have guys like The Rock posting, "Sorry to hear Adrian Lionheart has passed," and that really made me take notice and look him up. And I'm just sorry that we lost another great one.
It's with him. He was so well respected. He was a great, solid worker. He was huge overseas in Europe, and like you said, having The Rock pay attention, someone like The Rock, that just speaks on the type of person he was, the type of character he had. And it's a tragedy every time we lose somebody, but there are certain definite good guys in the business that it's a damn shame.
All right, ladies and gents, that about wraps it up for another episode of That Time of the Month. This is Michael T. Ricker and
Jason Jako.